My boy Dax up in Canada.
What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the franchise. Today, I'm by myself. We got no guests, so I'll run it with just my screen here of me. Anyways, to make things less awkward, today we're covering mostly all the teams. The Celtics, not so much. We'll probably keep them to the side, curb them for this one, just because they've been the topic of discussion for a lot of the previous episodes, videos, whatever you want to call it. Had some guests on to talk about them and their thoughts, and I've given my own on another video that I've been by myself before, so we'll leave them alone. I think I've bashed them enough over the past few weeks, deservingly so, but let's leave them alone. So for the other three, there's some criticism, there's some praise. As I've said before, criticism comes a lot easier with these teams than when it comes to praising them. So I'll start off with the Red Sox and the praising. So the last time I talked about the Red Sox, as of this recording now, they swept the Yankees over the weekend in a 3-game series on the road in New York in a full Yankee Stadium, and then they beat the Marlins for their makeup game from a couple series before, or the series before the Astros. So the last time I talked about them, they were struggling against the Astros. They actually, I think the day of that recording, they managed to avoid the 4-game sweep in the 4-game series. So they lost the first 3 and won the last one. So technically right now the Red Sox are on a 5-game winning streak. That's just how baseball works. There's so many games and there's such a quick turnover that you can go on a losing streak to a winning streak in a matter of days, a week. It's so fast. Like, things can change at an extremely rapid pace in the sport of baseball. So I'm not completely surprised that they're doing well now, but I'm also extremely surprised at the same time, as is a lot of people, as are a lot of people, professional sports talk, radio hosts and whatnot, writers and everything, that I don't think anyone expected the Red Sox to completely sweep the Yankees. It wasn't 100% easy. They went to extra innings in the last game, and it was relatively close for a little bit there, but they swept them. The Red Sox won 3 games. They held off the Yankees because they were only 2.5 up on the Yankees going into the series. So if they were to have gotten swept, they would have dropped below the Yankees in the standings, or if they lost 2 of the 3, they only would have been a half game up. Now, because they sweep them, at the time of the sweep, the Red Sox are up 5.5 games on the Yankees, or even 5.5, and they managed to jump up against the Rays as well, who they are going to play relatively soon. I'm actually going to pull up the schedule while I'm talking. So to see the Red Sox win and dominate as a Red Sox fan, I obviously hate the Yankees. So to see them dominate them like that is just awesome. I can't express how much I love to watch that happen. So they're on a 5-game winning streak. They beat the Marlins in the makeup game. Now they're hosting the Astros, the team that they lost 3 of 4 to. It's a 3-game series, not a 4. And like I said, they're hosting it in at Fenway in Boston. So what I want to see from the Red Sox here in this series is something along the lines of at least winning 2 of the 3, but also in a pretty dominating fashion, because that's kind of what the Astros did to the Red Sox for those first 2 games. It wasn't really close. The third loss was a pretty close game. It was 2-1. The other 2 were 11-2 and 5-1, so those weren't close, and the Red Sox won 5-1. So 5-1, 4-1, anything that kind of run differential, I'd love to see that out of the Red Sox in this series. For at least 2 out of the 3 games, it would be great if they could continue this sweep tendency. I doubt that happens. I think the Astros are definitely a better team than the Yankees, with or without the cheating, whatever you want to call it, whatever the Astros were going through. So that's that with them. They won without JD Martinez. He's back in the lineup now, and they are home. The weather is not so great. It's again, as of recording, it's it's probably going to downpour soon. It's what it seems like it's going to be. So that's unfortunate, and that's never fun for baseball, but we'll see how that goes. They play today at 7:10, so just under an hour from now. It's about 6:30. I mean, it's good to see them doing well, and this is my mood with the Red Sox. You know, like it's either I'm loving it or I'm hating it, and that's what I feel like I've been saying this whole time. You know, I feel like I said, they're gonna be that girl that texts you. Hey, I keep repeating this. Then be like that girl that texts you, hey, drags you back in after things maybe didn't end so well, and all of a sudden you're getting the notifications on your phone, you get dragged back in, and you think everything's good, and then it's not good, just to disappoint you all over again. So maybe that's what the Red Sox are going to still be. But as we get later into the season, and they're a season high 13 games over 500, which is just amazing, I don't see that happening. I think they're going to be a playoff team. They got the dog days of baseball coming up. That's never fun. I'm sure people have heard that term before. If you haven't, that means their schedule is tough, which I have expressed before. They have the Astros, like I said, and then they host the Blue Jays for a 4-game series here, and the Blue Jays are right there too in the AL East. They host, or they don't host the Braves, but they go on a 2-game road trip in Atlanta against the Braves, and they go against the Royals. Not so great. The Rays, they have to go to Tampa to play them, and then they host the Yankees, the Royals again. And I'm not going that far because that's June 30th where the schedule goes for that. So I'll end it for this month. But I have looked ahead, and July and part of August are also very tough as well. So leading up to the All-Star game and to the trade deadline, where the All-Star game is officially the halfway point pretty much in every major sports season, but definitely in baseball. The halfway point is where we'll really know what they're about, I'd say. Teams usually decide by the trade deadline or maybe even the All-Star game, even early July before the All-Star game, if they're going to be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline. If they're buyers, then they're, playoff contenders, possibly World Series late playoff contenders. Sellers, they're obviously in the bottom of the league, someone like the Orioles, maybe the Indians, something like that, Mariners. Or they just stay pat. They don't do anything. They think they're good enough. If not, they're a 500 team. I don't think the Red Sox – I think the Red Sox are closer to the buying, maybe somewhere in between the staying where they are and buying. I wouldn't hate it if they made a move. They probably need to make at least some pitching moves, maybe one lineup move. There's some moves to be made. I don't know how many moves they make. It's a lot easier in baseball than a lot of the other sports, I feel like. Maybe NBA is a little different in that scenario, but otherwise – they're looking good right now. They're sitting pretty. I like the way that they're playing. Their bats have kind of worked their way around again. Xander Bogaerts look good. Like I said, JD Martinez was out. Rafael Devers is having a lot of fun. He's smacking the baseball around. That first 3-run home run against the Yankees in that series was awesome. I loved it. He crushed it to right field, that easy right field that the Yankees have made tailored for left-handed bats, almost like they did it on purpose, but we'll leave that out for now, I guess. But yeah, that's it for the Red Sox, really. I'm a huge baseball fan, so it's really nice to see them doing this well. And who knows, maybe next week or my next video, I'll be bashing them. Because, again, like I said, that's just how baseball is. So, welcome to the dog days of the MLB, everyone. Sit back, strap yourselves, put your seatbelts, whatever you want to call it, and, buckle up. Because this is, I feel like it's going to be kind of a bumpy ride. And it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be fun. But if you're into baseball and you're into watching this team, it's you're going to be at the edge of your seats. Anyways, next up, I'm going to talk about some football. Non-Patriots, actually. I've been having to talk about this. I have to. I was going to make a side video at home, but I figured I would just save it for now. Julio Jones has been traded to the Tennessee Titans from the Atlanta Falcons. it will be Jones and a second-round pick in 2022, so next year's draft. That's what he's getting traded for. Jones for a 2022 second and a 2023 fourth-round pick, and the Falcons are also sending a sixth-round pick back to the Titans with Julio. So not the best return for the Falcons. I feel like they could have done a little better. They were looking for a first-round pick. Obviously, they weren't going to get that. I'm pretty sure everyone was clear on that unless someone just completely screwed up. I think they could have gotten a little bit more. I probably would have tried for a second and a third and not sending a pick back, but it is what it is. It's not much more value than what the Patriots gave for Mohamed Sanu, which is disappointing as a Patriots fan, probably disappointing as a Falcons fan as well. But it is what it is. The trade is in the works. It's signed. It's done. He's landed in Tennessee. I saw the videos. He's there. He's not keeping number 11. A.J. Brown will keep it. He tried, he said. A.J. Brown is ecstatic, as I would be too. That seems like it's his role model. That's his idol, so he's getting to play with him. And they're both A.J. Brown's on his way to being a top 5 receiver in the NFL, and Julio Jones, fully healthy, is probably the best, if not the top 3, top 2 wide receivers in the NFL still, even at his age. So it's entertaining to see. It's disappointing that he's not on the Patriots because that was a rumor. I get it. I'm not too disappointed. It makes sense that they wouldn't trade for him. It seemed like him and Cam had a friendship there, but like I said, who knows how much that friendship will take someone when the ball is hitting the dirt in front of the receiver 68 yards on a consistent basis, because Cam Newton can't throw the football as far as we know still, and he's hurt as well. I guess there's a little Patriots talk in there that Cam Newton hurt himself. His hand, there's no ligament damage, apparently no broken bones, but he jammed his wrist or fingers or something. So yeah, that leaves the door open for Mac Jones. I kind of hope he takes it. If he doesn't, let me put it this way: anything short of Mac Jones not just grabbing the quarterback job and ripping it out of Cam Newton's hands and showing the coaching staff that he should be the guy, it's a cause for concern using the 15th overall pick on him. But there's another side of that. The coaching staff could just be not about it. Like he could get all the chances he wants. He could take the snaps, but they could decide that when Cam's healthy, he's the guy. So when he comes back, it doesn't really matter what Mac Jones has done leading up to Cam Newton coming back. So that's another side of it for the Patriots. But going back to the Julio Jones trade, so yeah, they have A.J. Brown, Julio on the other side. They have Derrick Henry, obviously, in the backfield. Ryan Tannehill has probably been, I'd say, top 11 or 12 quarterback in the NFL since he arrived in Tennessee and took over the starting job. He's completely turned his career around. That's why he's getting paid the way he is. And I obviously expect him to take another step forward, another leap into the right direction with 2 of the top receivers in the league. That's pretty self-explanatory. And this opens things up for Derrick Henry, who had to deal with a lot of stacked boxes last year. Obviously, it was really just A.J. Brown. Obviously, Corey Davis, but Corey Davis is good. He's a great athlete and a good wide receiver. But you go from him to Julio Jones, that's a whole different animal right there. Their defense has gotten a little better, so I'm expecting good things from the Titans. It's going to be the Titans and the Colts, unless Carson Wentz just still looks like absolute crap, pretty much, with lack of a better word there. So that's that with them. Fantasy wise, I mean, I don't really want to get into fantasy right now. I'm sure I'm gonna have plenty of people wanting to talk about how that affects fantasy at some point when I have some guests on towards fantasy football season. But from my perspective right now, I'd say Calvin Ridley is probably a second-round pick at this point in fantasy, probably a late second-round pick, and you can put A.J. Brown, Julio Jones right around the same mark, I'd say, in the mid to second round, just because they're going to obviously take targets away from each other. But yeah, that's really it for that trade. like I said, I'm going to probably save that for when I have guests on for closer to fantasy football or football season in general. So, yeah, go Patriots anyways. But the main topic of discussion today, the Bruins. Man, okay, so they're now down 3-2 against the New York Islanders in the Eastern semifinals. And the last two games haven't looked great at all. They lose in New York, they lose here in Boston, and now they're going back to New York tomorrow night, Wednesday, as of recording tomorrow night. I don't know what to expect. I don't know when I make another episode, another video, podcast, whatever. I don't know how I'm going to be reacting. I don't know what I'm going to be saying. I don't know if I'm going to be sitting here all hyped up and happy that they were able to come back and tie the series or possibly win the series, depending on when that happens, or if I'm going to be bashing them even more than I'm probably going to right now. They've just been really disappointing. And again, it just flips like that. You know, I'm saying about a week ago, a little over a week ago, maybe, that they're looking like one of, if not the best teams in the NHL playoffs after their series with the Washington Capitals, where they just completely beat up on them. But now it seems like they've met their match against a team that, yes, did dominate them pretty much for the most part in the early first half of the NHL regular season, but the tables turned after the trade deadline. So I don't know what happened between last series and this series, but the Bruins just are not showing the fight that they were showing against the Capitals for the most part. Obviously, the top line is kind of doing their thing. Unfortunately, they have a tendency to miss wide open nets. That's a big reason why they're in this position right now. When you lose, they lost. What was it? Game 4 it was 4-1. It was really 2-1, but they let up 2 empty netters at the end of the game because they had to pull their goalie because they're down 2-1. They wouldn't be down 2-1 if David Pastrnak, instead of trying to rush it and hitting the side post when Varlamov just completely let the net wide open. It couldn't be more wide open. I think I could have scored that. My mom could have scored that. Anyone on their opposite hand, they could have scored this goal. And David Pastrnak somehow misses and hits the post. And instead of possibly going into overtime, tied 2-2, you lose the game 4-1. Move forward to the Game 5 in Boston, and early in that game, Brad Marchand misses not as wide open. It was a little more difficult than Pasternak's. It wasn't as egregious whatsoever. Don't get me wrong. He should have scored this goal. It wasn't as wide open. He had to make some moves. He was kind of off balance, but at the same time, like I said, he's the caliber of player that he is, and the angle that he had. That puck should have been in the back of the net. And they lose the game 5-4. They're down 5-2 at one point, and they have to come back and come within a goal, but they ultimately fell short. So this is stuff that I'm talking about. Like, these are mistakes you can't make in the NHL playoffs at all, really, but especially against a team like this that can take advantage of your mistakes because you've seen what they've done against you before. Tuukka Rask hasn't looked great at all. The Bruins are just, when you're out shooting your opponent by 20 to 30 shots, between 20 and 30 shots on almost every game for at least the last couple of games, you shouldn't be losing those games. You shouldn't even be winning those games by just one goal. You should be winning by multiple goals, unless the goalie is absolutely just standing on his head on the opposite team, which Varlamov has looked like he's done at sometimes. He just blocking everything, but to just completely turtle and lose games like that, it's really tough to watch in general. I'm sure it's tough to play those games, but I just can't really bear to watch it in general. So, The guys are dropping like flies, especially the defensemen, Carlo, Miller. There's mistakes being made. Their depth isn't showing. The first through third lines on the Bruins, though, are still out shooting the first through third lines on the Islanders by like 30 or something, or like 3 shots a game or some crazy number like that. It's crazy. And they unfortunately just can't get the job done. And I don't know if Swayman is going to stick and he's going to stay in instead of Tuukka, in favor of Tuukka. I wouldn't be surprised if he does. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't. But it's not a good look. It's really not a good look. And I want to go off a little bit more, but I'm kind of saving that for if or when they get eliminated in a pretty sad fashion from what it's looking right now. It does not look good at all. And yeah, I'm not loving it. I'm not loving this whatsoever. So Bruce Cassidy obviously complains after the game with the media, saying they're the New York Saints, because I'm assuming that means because they can't do anything wrong. They don't get too many penalties called against them. And, I get it. I get what he's trying to do. He gets fined. A couple other Bruins players get fined for some hits. And Cassidy gets fined for his comments, which is natural. That's going to happen. They'll fine you for sneezing the wrong way if you're talking to the media, any sport. But I don't know if it's going to work this time, because clearly there's some sort of, I'm not saying the refs are against the Bruins, but there's some sort of agenda here. And I don't think they're necessarily losing because of these calls. Yes, 3 of the goals, they were 3 for 3 on the power play at one point last night. I don't know if it stayed that way. I think there might have been a couple more, but at one point in last night's game, the Islanders were 3 for 3 on their power play. But that's not 100% to blame. That you can't put all that on the penalties being called against the Bruins and the lack of penalties being called against the Islanders. There's just other factors that the Bruins just aren't cleaning up to pin it all on one reason. I mean, I wouldn't hate seeing Swayman in. I can't. You know me, I was chanting Swayman earlier. Got to see the young guy at some point, And it's unfortunate because there's not too much time left for this core, and we keep saying that every year, for sure. People keep saying that, but players are going to be free agents at some point. They're getting old. They want to go back to their countries. They're not all from here. Most of them aren't from here, so you know how it works. Like, they want to go home at some point, so they're going to hang it up and leave and maybe go play in those leagues. For example, David Krejci, perhaps. So you really want to see them win again, or at least make it and have that chance. I don't want the Bruins to lose to the Islanders in the second round of the playoffs. It's just, I'm trying to think of more things. Some of these dump-ins are driving me crazy. Taylor Hall, he doesn't look bad, but he's obviously not completely getting the job done. Trade deadline acquisition there. The fourth line, I mean, the Bruins have always loved to do this, but the fourth line is just in at the wrong times. The fourth line, it was late in that game last night in Game 5 when they're down, and I'm seeing the fourth line in there, and I don't care what the minutes are, the restrictions, whatever you want to, management, whatever it is. The fourth line within the last 5 minutes of a game, especially when you're down, they should see like 30 to 45 seconds, maybe a minute max. I wouldn't even give them that full minute. And when I say that, I'm not talking like towards the end of the game, like the last 30 seconds. I'm talking with 5 minutes left on the clock, you have them play until 4:30 or 4:15. They're benched for the rest of the game, and you have your top lines out there just rotating, because this is do or die. You need to win those games. There's no more management at this point. This is like in the NBA playoffs when you have to cut your bench from 10 guys to 7 or 8 guys. Like, that's just how it is. You need to get it done. So like I said, I don't know what I'm going to be saying about the Bruins next time I talk about them. I'm not, again, I don't think anyone in Boston's happy. I'm definitely not happy about this whatsoever. But they need to figure it out. I think they can. I don't know if they will. And it's sad to say that. But now that I kind of just jogged my memory, I do want to talk a little bit NBA for a second, non-Celtics, real quick. For anyone that thought, obviously I was wrong about the Lakers making it to the finals. Granted, no Anthony Davis, so that's really tough. LeBron obviously can't get it done with the quality of team that the Lakers have outside of AD. So I'm wrong about the Western Conference. We'll see how that goes. I'd love to see the Suns there. They're a lot of fun, and they look locked in, so that's great. But here is the thing. The Nets are going to win the championship, and that's that. No James Harden for the foreseeable future, at least for the series against the Bucks. For how they say he might sit for the whole series. That might not even make it to 5 or 6 games. They probably don't even need him. It might be over by the end of this week because they have just completely dominated Milwaukee. Someone needs to put a missing persons report for Chris Middleton. You got to be on the milk carton or something because he is just MIA right now. After beating MIA, not to be corny, Miami. So this is the NBA. It's no fun. Like I said, it is fun. There's different versions of fun. There's different reasons that it is fun. There's different ways. It's fun watching Devin Booker play well. It's fun watching Chris Paul make a little run in the playoffs. Hopefully he can stay healthy because everyone loves Chris Paul pretty much. And you want to see teams like the Western Conference, the Jazz and the Suns and the Nuggets. You love to see those teams make it because you don't really see teams like that make it too often. Like it's a new little change of the guard here. And it's like, it's fun watching Donovan Mitchell and, like I said, Devin Booker and Nikola Jokic. Congratulations on winning the MVP. He's the MVP this year, and rightfully so. But you say all these things again. It's like I'm a broken record, I know, but it's like going back to last year. It was great, Jamal Murray. Look at him; he's just like going off in the bubble. It's great. It's a new playoff star. But the Lakers are winning the championship, so who cares? It's the same thing this year, just with a different team, because that team is now fully healthy this year. They weren't last year. That's great. It's fun watching the Suns. It's fun watching the Hawks and Trae Young versus New York. And now he beats Philly in game 1, which is great because I hate Philly, but it's fun watching that. It's fun. I get it. You like to watch these games. People like to bet on these games and prop bets and everything, and that adds to it at all. But at the end of the day, if you're a realist, you're sitting there and you're going, in the back of your head, you're like, the Nets are winning the championship. And that sucks. That's what takes away from NBA playoff basketball. And you hate to see it. I hate to see it. It's not what it used to be. It's not the NBA that I knew growing up. And unfortunately, it's just the way it is nowadays. I don't like it. I know a lot of people don't like it, and it's tough to see. So this is why I say all playoffs over the NBA playoffs, and I know people hate to hear that or would never say it, but they're wrong. There's no opinion there either. There's no opinion based. This isn't an opinion based. The NBA playoffs are just not fun when you look at the grand scheme of things, which is unfortunate, but again, that's just the way it is, and it's the era that we live in. So no Celtics, no Patriots. We got the Red Sox. We got the Bruins. Go, everyone. I'm going to go to the gym. I've got to work out today. So I appreciate everyone watching this. Thank you so much. Thank you. I always, as I say, always thank you for the support. Don't forget to like this video when it comes out, whenever that is. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Spotify and Apple Music or Apple Podcasts and everything, all the jazz. So thanks again, and I'll see you next time.